Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Live Extra. I'm Luaimi Adelakun, and this is where we break down the stories that will shape conversations for the rest of the day.
I'm Anuluwa Poido, and we begin this morning with a key diplomatic move as President Bola Tinubu approved the posting of 4 ambassadors designated to the United States, France, and 2 other countries. We'll look at what this signals about Nigeria's foreign policy direction and its engagement with the global community.
And Samson Balogun is my name, and alongside that we'll bring you the weather outlook and a full daybreak news update to keep you informed as you step into your day. Let's talk about the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In some quarters, they call him Ashiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, just like some developments a few months ago, where we're talking about ambassadorial roles in the country. These positions have been vacant for over 2 years. Since he came to office, there's been nothing like ambassadors anywhere. And then there were names that were shortlisted, screened on the floor of the House, but eventually some of them are getting postings. And we have seen postings to the United States, just as predicted. It's still the candidate that was predicted to be going to the America, and then France. You know, it's more or less like the president is beginning to block some holes and see how Nigeria can form international relationship with some other countries, especially relationships that have broken down in recent times.
Yeah, I think you're very spot on. And then Aristotle says something that anybody who says, I want to stand alone, is either a beast or a god. You know, regardless of how well you're doing as a country, not to talk of Nigeria, that is still a developing country, you need other people, you need alliance.
Yeah, I mean, is it an insult to call Nigeria a developing country?
It's not an insult. It has been proven severally.
Are we still developing?
We are still a developing country.
Are we stocked?
I don't think we're stuck. If there's a way out, looking at this new nomination,
the pace is slow.
Exactly, it's really slow and it's a sad one. So I was just trying to make the point that we need the alliance and we need to build good relationship, because Nigeria is currently at a very critical stage. Because even the developed countries, they still look for a way to build the relationship.
Consolidating power.
Exactly. So it's now the duty of whosoever it is that will continue. For instance, now if Bola Ahmed Tinubu, let's say whether he wins or not, someone else will come in. They must maintain that relationship. And then I think this nominees, or there are no more nominees, they were screened, 68 of them last December, and then Nigerians were really, they were intentional about, really out their opinions online, especially with United States, because they have said, I don't know if you follow Twitter online, Nigerians were like, okay, this certain individual that is part of the nominees, even before they were screened, it should not be sent to US, because US is a peculiar state, especially with what happened recently with the whole Donald Trump interfering in the affairs of Nigeria. So now that we have this ambassadors for each of these countries, they must get to work. I think they have 2 major responsibilities. The first one is to try to look for ways to work on the errors created, because at a lot of policies have affected Nigeria in the last few years. Why? Because we do not have representatives in these countries, so they must look for ways to actually correct the errors, put Nigeria on a better spot in the global space. And another thing is to come up with new initiatives, because this is the major role of ambassadors. You are supposed to fight for your country on every table to ensure that, okay, your country will not suffer loss on this particular issue. So the first one is to look for ways to correct some of the errors, or let me say the pain that some Nigerians are going through now in these countries, because we lack ambassadors in this country. And then the other thing is to come up with new initiatives to ensure that, okay, we begin to get it right. Yeah, and then looking at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, especially with this administration, I think he's been able to get it right with certain appointment, honestly. Because if you look at some persons, some of the ministers, we can see what they're really doing. Yes, there are some that Nigerians are complaining every day.
For the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think this is the first time in a long time where you see the Minister of Foreign Affairs everywhere and anywhere trying to defend the country with his life. Yeah. I mean, I've not really seen much of that before now.
Exactly. So that's why I said I think the president is very strategic when it comes to appointing people. Yeah, there are a few, issues here and there with some of his appointments, but I think he's doing a very good job with his appointment. And I want to believe that these 4 major countries, France, UK, US, and Turkey, with this appointment, and of course they've been sent out, I want to believe that we'll see changes in terms of the policies. Exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk about the United States. Let's talk about the ambassador designate. I think I was trying to get a profile lowdown on him. Ayodele, okay. I think it's from your state. He was the former Director General of Nigeria's National Intelligence Agency, NIA. He was appointed
we
by...
predicted that on this show, that he might likely be the one headed to the U.S.
All right. So it was appointed then by President Goodluck Jonathan in November 7, 2013, and something to look out for was also the fact that, you know, he's been in the know, especially in that white, because he even before that, he was Nigeria's ambassador to Commonwealth Secretariat in London. He succeeded Ezekiel Oladijo as Director General of Nigeria's National Intelligence Agency in November 2013. Now, there was something that came up during the administration of Muhammadu Buhari. Okay, so was suspended by President Muhammadu Buhari after anti-corruption officers from the EFCC, you know, found more than about 43 million US dollars, you know, in an apartment at Osborne Towers in Ikoyi, Lagos. And on October 30, was finally dismissed by the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari after the consideration of the reports of the investigative committee headed by the Vice President. So in June 2023, Premium Times also released a statement that time that decided on named inside sources that reported that the NIA DG, which was of course and Ahmed Abubakar, the chairman of the EFCC at the time, Abdul Rashid Bawa, met and resolved to terminate the legal proceeding against in the interest of national security. That's exactly a brief of what I got from him. And I mean, yes, it's good to have someone come on board, but it's also good to look into what they have done before, because there's a way the past can tell who the person is. We can see from antecedents if this person has been a credible person, no disregard to his personality. I'm not trying to shame or shade, but I'm just saying that, yes, maybe sometimes we need someone who comes to, you know, that statement that whoever comes to equity must come with clean hands. Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Maybe there's really no perfect person. Maybe there's something, maybe it was also cooked up, maybe it wasn't true. But exactly, we don't want somebody that can tarnish, because I know for one, the United States is quite intentional about this kind of relations between Nigeria. In fact, come next week or this week, there's supposed to be a United States designate coming to Nigeria exactly again for conversations on how to to help counter terrorism in the country and to stop Christian genocide, just like they keep mentioning. So it is a very fragile situation, especially with the United States. No disrespect to every other country, but the United States as of now is quite interested in the story of the narrative of the Nigerian state. So we understand how that must be taken with absolute care. We don't want to miss it in one way. We don't want to do things that might not, be, because if this comes to bear that, yes, he was found guilty of a charge, I'm not sure the United States is going to receive him so well, and that might even snowball into something else that might not be good for the country. But I think I also want to say that I saw so many names too. I saw past governor, I think the governor of Bauchi at one time was also part of the people that were sent recently. But my question again now,
former governor of Kebbi State.
Kebbi,
is going to Turkey.
All right. So I was asking the question, why some countries and not some countries? Okay, I know maybe there's a process that needs to be followed, but how about we doing it maybe just one, so we understand that our ambassadors are working now, we're still waiting for some to start working while others are working. What makes the decision, what was the reason for that choice to say, let's have US, let's have Turkey, let's have UK? Why not every other countries? What does it mean? Maybe it means a lot to the presidency to say we need these people at this very crucial time. But what about other countries too? I know I'm trying to say, whatever we want to do, let's speed it up a bit. Let's have, not speed in terms of hurry, let's speed it up according to process. I'm not saying doing anything outside of the ordinary, but let's have all of these designates as well represent us, because we need their representation. It's very key. I think we've time and again we've talked about this, how consequential it is to have these people in those quarters. We need this for bilateral relations between our country and the other countries of the world, and we need to start moving as soon as we can. We cannot afford to waste any more time on this. Let's have it done.
Okay, I just want to take a guess on what he pointed out, that the reasons why the president had to start with these 4 countries. According to what we read, I think the president is set to travel to Turkey. That's for next week. He just came back recently, and I think maybe it has something to do with the relationship with these countries. I'm talking about Nigeria now, with these 4 countries, because that the UK, the US, France, and Turkey, even before now, we've seen the relationship between the president of Nigeria and, of course, France, and with these other countries. Maybe that is the reason. And one more thing is, yes, it is good to actually find a way to ensure that the postings, happen at once. But then, at the end of the day, we shouldn't rush. this process. I mean, yes, we should be careful of who we post, because a lot of Nigerians are expecting some names now.
Right.
Honestly, when I saw the 4 names, I was really expecting some names there, because a lot of Nigerians are expecting some names. They want to know where these people will be posted to, because why? Of their maybe personality and their popularity. You know the names now. We have the likes of Reno, we have the likes of Femi Fani-Kayode. People are waiting for, okay, where will they post this one to? Because we really need to know, because of their personality and of course image, just like you mentioned, of Nigeria. So one more thing is the Senate now, because when they were being screened, something happened, and then some senators were like, just take a bow and go. While some senators, said, no, it won't happen. We need to question them. We need to know what they have for Nigeria. We need to know how well they are going to represent us, because looking at what Nigeria is going through at this point in time, we cannot afford to push out or maybe screen someone and give them a pass when we are not so sure of what they are capable of. So the Senate should not stop there. At the end of the day, even after the posting, they must follow up. Just like you mentioned, the image of Nigeria is very important. And then at this point in time, you have seen cases whereby some persons will go online, say all sorts about Nigeria. It's not helping us,
well,
honestly.
Certainly, the Senate will not stop there. I think this is being done in order of importance as of now. Okay, which countries do we think we need the most at this time? And I think the US, stays right at ahead of that pack. Turkey recently has been assisting when it comes to security too, and that, just like Yemi said, the president will be traveling there shortly, and of course there has to be someone who will receive the president when he gets to Turkey. And also the United Kingdom. Yes, we were colonized by the United Kingdom, and definitely someone has to go to the UK. And France, we all know that the president, since he became president, he's been to France God knows how many times, and one of the places he frequents so much is France, and there's a relationship between himself and Emmanuel Macron. So that is also explained in due details. But then, if you look at the pace with which it is being done, one thing I'm not quite clear about is we all knew, because in the first place, a few set of names were sent. They were screened before the others were sent. The second batch was sent. But then, one thing that was not clear is, I think before now, the president knew that these 4 names were top of the list, and he knew exactly where he was sending them. The question is, why did it take them this long to send these names out and, of course, give them their portfolios? But that being said, they have been given their portfolios. The first 4, yes, we understand. Let them go out there. But then how fast can you make the rest of these names to go out there? And I also noticed that, just like Yemi said, the president has been a little bit picky when it comes to who does this and that. Regardless of if that person has a questionable character, go and check again and again. There's a level of competence attached to that person. Regardless of, he was once convicted of corruption, he had this, he had that. There's a level of competence attached. Let's say Reno Mokri, for example, he was on the neck of the president he was pressing his neck before the election. He was saying so many things, and eventually after the election, the music changed. Reno is now, obnomy with the president. But then, regardless of anti-Tinubu he did before the election, look at what he's been doing for Nigeria as a country now. He's been defending the country with his life. And that is the kind of person you want as an ambassador. Someone that can actually go there, not just talking, but talking with facts, empirical facts, just like some people would say out there. Empirical facts, reeling out information and saying, look, go and verify. And if you cannot verify this, it means I'm lying. And he's been doing that even on the social media. So someone like that really needs to go to a country where Nigeria is really suffering when it comes to bilateral agreements. He should be able to preach the country to them out there, and of course make them believe that Nigeria, yes, a developing country, but we've got a lot to offer them. In terms of resources, Nigeria is blessed. And these are the things we exchange. You have this, the world still lives on barter, even though as humans, we don't do barter anymore. I can't come to you and say, okay, let me give you a phone and you give me this. It's no longer being done, except for in a few cases.
I won't take it.
But then, if you check the world today, let's provide security, let's provide guidance, but you give us oil. This is what is still being done out there. Only in exceptional cases, you still see them exchanging dollars or exchanging euros or pounds. And that is exactly what we want to do now. Let's present to the world what we've got, and then let them give us what we need. And just like we said earlier, the pace with which Nigeria is developing is too slow for anyone, especially for people who have been studying the trajectory since the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. In fact, at a point, I felt Nigeria got stuck somehow and wasn't moving. I feel with some policies introduced by this administration, if properly followed through, if the Senate does not stop to perform oversight functions, if they keep pressing the neck of the executive to do the right thing, I think eventually Nigeria will get it right. Even though there are some policies that are, anti-people one way or the other, but hey, development does not come, just by dreaming or thinking about it. It comes through pain. But who are the ones that will bear the pain? It's not like you are going to tell me to bear the pain and then you are riding in luxury cars. No, everyone should come back to the same level. Right? Okay, you do this, I give you this. If you want me to pay tax, I will pay tax. But then will every penny I put in that tax net, will it be accounted for on the roads, on electricity, on enabling environments for businesses to thrive? Will businesses get soft loans so that they can easily spread their wings? These are things Nigerians are looking for. And I think with this process, the way it is being done, even though slow, I think we will get there eventually.
Let me just say lastly before I keep my mouth shut about this issue. Remember, if you recall quite well, our ambassadors were recalled in 2023. This is 2026. Right. It's a long time from now to say we are
it's
just...
It's about 3 years.
I mean, it's just too much we cannot miss that representation for that long. It's nothing to write home about. But I also say that... while the president is trying to, gag up things, what about China? Because we mentioned how important United Kingdom,
Russia.
US. So, okay, yeah, that's
South Korea.
China has been
Japan.
in the, especially with Nigeria, there's been so much relations. Maybe that's why they felt, oh, we are already talking, so there's really not so much we should hurry up about. Because I think China is also of necessity as of now.
The reason, just before you go, the reason Yusuf Tuga is having too much to do, that you are seeing me everywhere, is because there were no ambassadors in this country. But if there are ambassadors, I think his job will be cut down for him. He wouldn't have to, be everywhere, every time, defending the country.
You have more time to even think.
That's exactly my point
because policies originate from what these people do out there.
Yes.
Oh, you've got this for us. Yes, let's design a policy around this to suit the Nigerian people.
Yes,
because that's where we are going.
I'm saying this because if we cut the government some slack, it will be as if they're already overriding what we should think about. Because I don't want it to be that this is what they give us and that's what we take. No, we can call them to question. We can call, how do you say that thing that you call something to power? We can speak truth to power, to say, yeah. So it's very important that they should not tell us that they are doing 4 countries and then we are okay with it. No, we want more. 3 years is just too much to be planning. What are you planning exactly? We know we don't want you to rush it. It's 3 years is nothing about rushing. If every tenure comes in, there should be that plan and everything should start working. So, it should not be that we're now used to, whenever they do it is when they do it. 3 years after, I say, okay, they did 4, maybe let's wait so that we don't rush them. There's no rushing. Get this done. It's your job, it's your duty. Just like you call me to work to come to the station and work, and today I say I'm not working this morning because I'm just coming up. There's nothing like that. Baba, you are at work, deliver.
Okay, yeah, I think you're very spot on. And one thing I've noticed about this current administration is they listen. They're actually very observant, right. Especially when Nigerians complain online. They are seeing it. They have highs everywhere. So one way or the other, I just noticed that it's as if they heard us.
When a policy is introduced and then there's, hey, we don't want that, and then immediately it's withdrawn.
Exactly. So I want to believe that the president, of course, the entire administration, they will listen to the cries of the people, especially with deploying the right ambassadors to the country. So at the same time, I want to believe that they do it the right way. We don't want a situation whereby they will say, why is it that even after 3 years, you are still unable to get it right? That should not be our story at this point in time. We need the best ambassadors. You mentioned something about Nigeria dangling. John Campbell wrote a book in 2011. He was, at the time, the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria. He said, Nigeria is dangling economically. If care is not taken, things might go worse. 2011, this is 2026. A lot, has gone along. So at the end of the day, we should be careful that, whoever we are sending to a particular country, will represent us well, and then the due process must be followed, honestly.
That takes us to a particular Yoruba saying that says, if one prepares to go crazy for 10 years, right? So when eventually goes crazy, how many years will it take him to perform out there?
Yes, to express the craziness.
So, well, maybe one way or the other, I think time put into preparation is way too much, right? And all hands must be on deck to get this done as soon as possible. We have waited for almost 3 years. Let's see the results. Let's begin to see why we had to wait. And if that is done, I think Nigerians are not asking for too much. I always say this. They just want to make sure that you are doing the right thing. And once that is done, everyone goes back to sleep. They won't complain. But then, we'll see what will happen eventually. We'll take weather report on this show.
I need to know what the weather is saying, particularly.